Looking at the animals.
Thank you. Alan, thank you for helping.
In dog meat though.
Who is that? What's the name of that? My chair.
Yeah, this afternoon?
Yes. I love that. You brought that. I
want to go. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you don't want me to go down and would be out of line, too.
I didn't even know what he was doing until he told me.
Yeah.
Because we don't keep score, it just runs
Oh, yeah, it comes so fast. You're right. How about I go down? Bringing my own chair. Hey, Joe. I came back to the balcony.
Testing, testing. Are we live? Testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Are we good? Okay. Can everyone hear who's here? Sound is good? And hello to folks online. We're so glad you're here as well. Good morning to all. My name is Alison Miller, and I have the great privilege of serving the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship as senior minister. And I am blessed to work with a fantastic staff. And I'll just briefly introduce who's here with me. We have Stearns Matthews, our Director of Music Ministries. We have Nick Walwork, our Director of Lifespan Religious Education. And we also have Alex West, who is serving as our, what should I call you, our tech wizard, as we transition to live, thank goodness, outdoors and online services. Welcome to our Animal Blessing service today. And I have a couple of announcements. One, I'd love to let you know that later today, very shortly actually, we are participating in the Morristown Festival on the Green. we have a table. And so following the service all the way up to 5 o'clock, you are welcome to visit that table. There are all kinds of community organizations and restaurants and also children's activities at the festival. It's a lot of fun and it's a gorgeous day. Second, yesterday, a number of members of the fellowship in places throughout New Jersey and people throughout the country marched to defend reproductive freedom. And I wanted to draw your attention to the Reproductive Freedom Act, which is going to come before the New Jersey legislature. And I'd love to encourage you to learn more about it and to consider calling your representatives. And I'll give you some information about how to do that, actually, in an upcoming pastoral note. And this morning, if you read the letter that I sent, there's also a link to see the remarks that I shared on our YouTube channel yesterday in front of the Morristown Town Hall about reproductive justice. Today, we are sharing our offering. We are splitting it 50-50 between the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship and Wind of the Spirit, one of our partner organizations that is involved in creating resources, advocacy, and the work of justice on behalf of immigrants and actually often on behalf of the well-being of the entire community with a focus on immigrants. So please be generous. You can give by cash or check. You can give via text or you can give online. It is a wonderful thing to support Wind of the Spirit with your volunteer time and also your treasure. And I'm just going to flag two other things to be aware of. The service auction, which is coming up later this fall, is asking members and friends to begin to imagine what event or service or item that you might be able to offer for the services. And let me just see, do we have anyone from the service auction here today? I thought so, Barbara and Gabor. And so if you would like some ideas about something that you might be able to offer for the service auction, these two are fabulous people to speak to following this service. And the other thing to flag is that Joan Bells is involved, speaking of immigrants, with a project with RAMP, and we're going to help assist a family from Afghanistan to settle here in this area. So Joan, would you raise your hand? She's going to share more in the future, but we're looking for some volunteers. So Joan is a good person to speak to following the service. And that seems like enough announcements. So let us just share together in an opening affirmation that you've heard me share before. It is good to be. It is good to be here. It is so good to be here together. Wonderful. So it is our animal blessing service, and we had all kinds of stuffies and photos and live animals here at the first service, and I'll be delighted to meet them all here at the second service too. And at 12:30, we'll be blessing animals online too, so see you at Zoom coffee hour there. But let us open and call in the spirits of our friends in the family of all beings. The Calling of the Creatures by Ian Riddell. Come, hoof and trunk and tail and horn, and paw and wing and claw. Come, bird and reptile, mammal born, all full of nature's law. Bring bark and crow and rivet too, and silent stare and hiss. Bring purr and trill and warble too, and voice no ear can miss. We gather here, each life and all, to celebrate and sing, which we'll do, to honor creatures large and small. 'Tis holiness we bring. And now I'd love to invite Marjorie Wormser to come forward, our worship associate this morning, to share the children's chalice lighting, but really a chalice lighting we all share in. Marjorie's a lifelong UU who has taught our children in RE, and we're actually looking for folks that might be willing to sub in our RE program. So if you think you'd like to be a sub, if a teacher's sick, we would love to know that that's a possibility. And this has hand motions as well. So Marjorie's going to lead us in this, and I invite you to rise, and the words also in your order of service.
We light this chalice because we are Unitarian Universalists. We are the fellowship of the open mind, the loving heart, the helping hands. And together we bring peace and justice into the world.
We're going to invite you to stay standing and, right? Yeah. Great. And join in singing a song that actually, the two songs that we're singing today are great and all about animals, and they have a ton of words. So I'm going to give you all permission to sing la la, sing doo doo, sing woof woof, sing meow meow, anything you want. And of course, we ask that you put your masks on when we're singing. And so the great thing about that is that you're going to have a mask on. Nobody's going to know if you're singing the words or not. They bark and meow, they run and they sleep, they scamper and jump and they lie on the couch, they nigger and neigh, they slither and creep, they pounce and they scurry, they crawl and they crunch. The creatures we love are a sacred delight, with eyes that are bright and with tongues that are rough. They brighten our days and they wake us at night. Our praises we sing for the creatures we love. With fins and with fangs, with feathers and fur, they rest in their cages and swim in their tanks. Each squeak and each squawk, each judder and purr joins in with creation in offering thanks. You're doing great. The creatures we love bring us wonder and joy. They help us get through when the going is tough. They open our hearts even when they annoy. Our praises we sing for the creatures we love. They leap from the chair, they prowl in the woods, they knead and they cuddle, they snuggle and sigh. The essence of both creation is good, a blessing we cherish for all of our lives. The creatures we love are an instant of grace, the tiny, the giant, each one is enough. A part of the ultimate holy embrace. Our praises we sing for the creatures we love. Our praises we sing for the creatures we love.
So, I have a story for us all today that attempts to answer the question, where do pets come from? So it goes like this. In a newly discovered book of Genesis, we have proved where that answer. We provided an answer of where do pets come from. It goes like this. Adam and Eve said, Lord, when we were in the garden, we walked with you every day, and now we do not see you anymore. And we are lonesome here, and it is difficult for us to remember how much you love us. And God said, no problem. I will create a companion for you that will be with you forever, and you will be a reflection of my love for you, so that you will love me even when you cannot see me. Regardless of how selfish or childish or unlovable you may be, this new companion will accept you for who you are and will love you as I do, in spite of yourselves. And God created a new animal, and it was a good animal. And God was pleased, and the new animal was pleased to be with Adam and Eve, and he wagged his tail. But Adam said, Lord, I have already named all of the animals in the kingdom, and I cannot think of a name for this new animal. And God said, that's no problem, because I have created this new animal to be a reflection of my own name. You will call him Dog. You guys are ahead of me. I like this. And the dog lived with Adam and Eve, and he was a companion to them and loved them. And they were comforted, and God was pleased, and the dog was content and wagged his tail. And after a while it came to pass that an angel of the Lord came and said, Adam and Eve have become filled with pride. They strut and preen like peacocks because they believe that they are worthy of adoration. Dog has indeed taught them that they are loved, but perhaps too well. And God said, well, that's no problem. I will create for them another companion who will be with them forever and who will see them for who they are. And the companion will remind them of their limitations so that they will know that they are not always worthy of adoration. And God created cat to be a companion to Adam and Eve. And the cat would not obey them, and when Adam and Eve gazed into the cat's eyes, they were reminded that they were not the supreme beings. And Adam and Eve learned humility, and they were greatly improved. And God was pleased, and dog was happy, and cat did not care either way. It's our story.
It is the time in our service where we honor the milestones and passages that have happened in the lives of our fellow congregants since we last met. Some come in through the cards that you can fill out in the morning, and others will come via email, I ask, by the day before, or sometimes via text. We have a milestone sent to us from Bob Calafiore. His brother, Alfred Calafiore, passed away. Alfred was his older brother and his best friend. And he was someone that he looked up to his entire life. Alfred was a father, a husband, and a beloved grandfather. Let us all hold Bob in our hearts in this season of mourning, and the entire family. May they be comforted and surrounded by love. And may they find joy in retelling the stories of Alfred's life and the difference he made to their lives and to so many others. May it be so. And let us continue in a spirit of prayer and reflective meditation. Spirit of love, gracious presence of the abundance of fall, help us to locate ourselves in the family of beings. May we know that we are here to offer one another in the human family loving kindness and compassion. And for that loving kindness and compassion to ripple out to all the animal companions in our homes, to the therapy dogs, to the service therapy animals of all kinds, to the service animals of all kinds, to the working animals of all kinds, and to all the creatures of every kind, with fur and feather and scale and more, all across Mother Earth. May we be the hands and the feet, the minds and the hearts that put into action policies and practices that promote the well-being of all existence, of which we are a part. And today we also hold the marchers from yesterday. We center women of color and LGBTQ identified folks and youth, all who are most adversely impacted when we diminish reproductive rights. May we work for a world where we truly support well-being of the whole human family, nay, for all creatures under the sky. Amen, and blessed be, and may it be so. And now it is the time for our morning's offering to be given and received. 50% will go to support the works of this fellowship, and 50% will go to support the work of Wind of the Spirit. Marjorie and Alan will be going through the gathered crowd here, and you can give either in the basket, cash or check, or you can go online, or you can give via text, whatever works best for you. Thank you. And we begin with an offering of music from Stearns. Right? So I'm just curious, how many people have ever had a dog or a cat or a bird, like a parrot or a cockatiel or a finch? How many have had a fish? How many have had an opossum? How many have had a hedgehog? How many have had a snake? How many have had, a hamster or a gerbil or the like? As you can see, I, over the years, have had a bit of a menagerie and am very fond of furry, feather, finned, and scaly creatures. And it is indeed important to take care of them. And I'll say that I learned that at first from my mother, who was a nurse for people, but nonetheless, neighbors would often come to our doorstep with birds in New York City that they had found on the sidewalk, and Mom would splint their legs and nurse them back to health and then release them outside, because it's important to return wild animals to the wild, even the wilds of New York City streets. And now I'm married to someone, a science teacher, who gets calls sometimes from you about animals that need to be rehabbed, and is right now rehabbing a garter snake that's with us, along with our hedgehog today. So I can't wait to meet who you've brought. So I have a story to share with you about someone important to Unitarian Universalists, really a moral exemplar of sorts. Did you know that we Unitarian Universalists have a kind of saint when it comes to kindness and the treatment of animals? Animal blessings fall on this Sunday because it is literally a saint's day in the Catholic Church, connected to a man named St. Francis of Assisi. While we Unitarian Universalists don't create saints, we do celebrate the difference that human beings can make in the world and in our lives. Henry Berg is the man that I want to tell about today. He was actually a member of the church where I grew up, All Souls in New York City, which got its name from William Ellery Channing's quote, "I am a member of the great family of All Souls." All of us, whether people view us as saintly or whether we've ever been called a sinner, all of us are part of one human family. And no matter what mistakes we have made, we are all capable of doing good things, even great things that make a difference. Henry Berg was born over 200 years ago in 1813. At 50 years old, he was appointed an envoy from Abraham Lincoln to the Tsar Alexander II in Russia. While there, he witnessed a cruelty to animals, especially horses drawing carts, that changed his heart and mind and vocation. He adored horses. One day, he saw a man whipping a horse to such a degree that he tried to interrupt it and get help from the police officers around. The police said that the man owned this horse and he had a right, therefore, to do whatever he wanted. No one else would come to Henry's aid either. The people surrounded him and shook their fists in the air, calling him names. Now, while this was the moment that pricked his conscience to make a change, it wasn't the only time that he had witnessed cruelty to animals. He remembered the ill treatment of the bulls in bullfights in Spain, and bulldog fights and chicken fights in the United States. He also had seen horses drawing carts being whipped past exhaustion on the streets of his hometown in New York. After that incident, he resigned his post in Russia and immediately decided to go back home and to change the laws. It was his mission, as he put it, to work on behalf of these mute servants of mankind. Berg drafted a declaration of the rights of animals and proposed a society to protect them. On April 10th, 1866, a charter was signed to create the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And the following week, anti-cruelty laws were passed, which also gave power to the ASPCA to enforce them. Now, in the beginning, sometimes those ASPCA agents were called Bergsmen. And here is a description of one of the first interventions as shared by John Gibb Millspaugh. And this was literally about 1 week after the passage of those new laws. On a New York street corner on April 22nd, 1866, Unitarian Henry Berg gathered his courage and approached a cart driver, unmercifully beating his exhausted horse. "My friend, you cannot do that anymore." can't beat my own horse? The devil I can't, said the driver. Berg added, you are not aware probably that you are breaking the law, but I have a new statute in my pocket, and the horse is only yours to treat kindly. Mouth agape, the driver advised, go to hell, you're mad. Now, Henry, of course, was a Unitarian, so maybe he didn't even believe in hell, but nonetheless. Berg and his agents intervened in thousands of cases. The work that started with horses quickly grew to include many other species. Not to be gruesome, but at the time there were dairy farmers who were basically stapling their cows to one spot. When sea turtles were caught, holes were punched in their fins, and then they would be hung up for days on the way to market. And I'll just stop there for now. Henry Berg also wanted to see advances in medical care for animals and placement of animals in homes where their well-being would be a priority. And the ASPCA still carries out this mission today in 2021. Now, I want to be mindful to state the limits of his perspective. Now, he wasn't a vegan or even a vegetarian. He didn't object to animals working. He just wanted to ensure their fair and kind treatment. And he withstood death threats on a regular basis to stand up for these beliefs. There was another group of beings who were also considered property all the way up until the 1870s. Do you know who that was? Anyone? Children. In 1874, a 9-year-old girl named Mary Ellen was being repeatedly physically abused by a foster parent who was also forcing her to do hard labor. And I will spare you the images of her mistreatment. The police were reluctant to intervene even at the encouragement from the neighbors because the laws were not in place to do so. Finally, Mr. Berg was called and told about the situation. Unafraid to step into the breach and very experienced with the consequences of doing so, he successfully had her removed from the situation using a law connected to unlawful detention since the cruelty laws around children were not in place. He also went on to found the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. At first, newspapers published headlines in response like this, maybe the New York Post or the equivalent of the day. Legislation Gone Mad was one title. Leave Our Children Alone was another. Can you imagine? By the time of his death in 1888, Berg had been involved in 12,000 cruelty cases. But, as we know, the tides did turn, and with a great force. Today, children and animals have clear rights. It is even difficult for us to imagine that it was ever otherwise, even as we know that laws remain in place because they are needed. Harm does come. And when it does, we must act with courage and compassion, as Henry Berg did. In 1879, Scribner's magazine proclaimed, "It may almost be said of Henry Berg that he has invented a new type of goodness, since invention is the only perception and application of truths that are eternal." Kindness, loving kindness, being kind, is a kind of true north that is eternal. In our UUA's Tapestry of Faith curriculum by Brotman and Marshfield, we learned this about Henry. When people gathered around while he was making an arrest on the street, Berg, in the face of their name-calling and threatening violence towards him, would preach kindness. He felt it would be a greater triumph to plant kindness in people's hearts than to build a new railroad across America, as some others were doing. Henry Berg was called an angel in a top hat by his admirers, and the great meddler by his detractors and probably also his admirers. So let us all tip our hats to this gentleman who showed us that our gentle side can also be a display of great strength. May we recognize our place in the family of all beings, and unlike in some other religious houses of worship, may we recognize that our role as human beings is not to have dominion over the other creatures of the earth, not to be at the top of a pyramid, but rather we are but one strand in the web of life, and it is our role to be stewards and to protect every strand, all of its glorious diversity, and every being on earth. Let us celebrate the spark of the divine in Henry, a saint, if you will, for Unitarian Universalists, and a reminder that each of us has a conscience and a love that can make a very great difference. May it be so. And will you rise and join with me in our closing song? And following that, we'll move towards a blessing with those online, and then we'll move to some individual blessings here, and then I'll offer some individual blessings at 12:30 for the folks online on our Zoom link following the service.
This is a song that you may know already, but still lots of words. Meow, woof, hum, la la, doo doo, all welcome.
I think you've heard it. You might know these words, some of them anyway.
Some of them. They're, yeah. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on a telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got. Listen to the top where the little bird sings on the melodies, and the high notes ringing, and the hoot owl cries, and the pony neighs, and the blackbird disagrees. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on a telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got now. Dogs and the cats, they take up the middle where the honeybee hums and the cricket fiddles and the donkey brays and the pony neighs and the old gray badger sighs. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on a telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got now. It's a simple song, a little song everywhere, by the ox and the fox and the grizzly bear, the dopey alligator and the hawk above, the sly old weasel and the turtle dove. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on a telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got now. All God's critters got a place in the choir.
Love it. So let us begin with a general blessing directed over here and everywhere. May all our companions at home, our coworkers who appear with us on Zoom screens, and our service animals, and all those who make our lives more full of joy, more full of connection. May they be blessed to have that connection and joy returned right back to them. And we bless all the creatures under the domes of the heavens. And we vow to nourish our connections to them and to the earth, which nourishes us both. From all that dwell below the skies, Let faith and hope and love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be done by every hand, paw, and claw. Yes, everyone. So for those who are here, I invite you to form 2 lines. Nick will be on one side, and I will be on the other, offering individualized blessings for your animals. And at 12:30, we'll be doing the same on Zoom. So see you later, and I can't wait to meet your furry friends right now.